Hi there. First of all, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for TechSoup and TechSoup Connect Canada chapter. And most importantly, Ben and Eli for inviting us on here to chat with you today. Danielle and I are with Cheeky Monkey Media. Cheeky Monkey Media has been around for about 15 plus years. We have always supported nonprofits with their websites. We started in design and development of WordPress and Drupal sites way back when, and we still do that work today. However, over the past 5+ years, we've been really focused on how nonprofits can avoid big, expensive redesign projects. We're very excited to chat with you about that subject today. Again, my name is Dennis. And essentially, my job with Cheeky Monkey Media is to chat with nonprofits, understand their situation with their website. There's a ton of different ways that we can solve website challenges for nonprofits and help them get to their sort of mission and their goals. And my job is just to understand that situation and to provide the best approach that's going to solve those challenges for them.
My name is Danielle. I'm the Director of Product Strategy here at Cheeky Monkey. I'm often the main point of contact for our clients, whether you're starting a new project or working with us on ongoing support and maintenance. My role is all about partnerships. I work closely with you and your organization to understand your goals and help shape a strategy that makes sense for you and your audience and your team. We collaborate with our developers and designers to bring that vision to life. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about the effective website maintenance and strategic iteration can look like and how that can support you and your organizational goals.
All right. So why is this important? Because we have conversations and help nonprofits every day around their website. And the common things that we hear from comms folks, marketing folks within nonprofit organizations is Cheeky Monkey folks, every time I log into my website, there is a plugin or a module or core that needs to be updated. And I am deathly afraid to click that button because I think something's going to crash. Or the back end is so intimidating that I don't know where to go in order to update a banner image or create a new post in a certain section of the website. I don't know what to do. And if there is an issue, I spend half my day or more troubleshooting that issue. And basically at the end of the day, I'm spending more time worrying about my website, troubleshooting my website, trying to bring people in to fix my website when something's gone wrong, that I can't be strategic and proactive in the way that I do what I do best, which is communication and marketing for my nonprofit organization in order to maximize my impact. Danielle, what do you see?
And I would say that's where we come in. As your maintenance and support team, we partner with you and your team to fill those gaps and not add friction. Where deadlines are tight or technical hurdles pop up, we can jump in quickly and keep things moving. My role and my team's role is to make sure your site is stable and ready when you launch key campaigns. We work flexibly and respecting your workflows, and we're not going to be here to step on any toes. Instead of pushing for big, risky redesigns, we just pop in, we help you make smart, meaningful updates that improve your website. We're like a little behind-the-scenes partner that can help you stay proactive rather than reactive. So while you're managing your team and your day-to-day duties, we can help on the website side, really making sure that it's running smoothly so you don't have to worry.
And we don't hate redesigns, but we know a lot of nonprofit folks that do. And I wish I could see all of your lovely faces and your hands right now but maybe you could do something in the chat. I'd just love to hear back from you about whether or not you've been through a website redesign project and how that website redesign project went for you. I've spoken to so many nonprofit folks, and some of them even have like a little nervous tick from their last website redesign project. It went over budget. It took longer than expected. The only way they launched the site was that all the stakeholders said the only agreement that they could get across all of their stakeholders was, we don't hate it, so we might as well launch it. There's just so many horror stories. The launch destroyed our SEO. It was such a drastic departure from what we had before. Nobody could find anything because everything had been reorganized. There's just so many horror stories, and just hearing those horror stories, we knew that there had to be a better way.
And coming in from the chat, we've got a couple responses in here right now.
Love it.
So we've got Scott who says, I love a redesign. They're about to embark on one right now. It's huge,
Fantastic.
scary, but exciting.
There you go.
And we've got another one from Beth who says, we're doing one right now. So far, so good. So right now we've got people who have got this all totally under control.
Nice.
Wait, we've got Diana who's more like me, who says, we are avoiding it like the plague, but we desperately need it.
Yeah.
And then we've also got Nicholas here who says, we're doing a complete redo of the theme. It went well. And so they're happy with it, but it was way over schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been part of a lot of redesigns over my career, and they can go really well. That means you have a great project manager and somebody on your side that is a good approver. And that's great to hear. I've also been part of redesigns that have not gone so well. Redesigns, in my opinion, they're becoming less of the norm, and they're overwhelming. They're not cost efficient. They really take away from the meaning of what you're trying to do. They take up a lot of time. When I've come in for doing redesigns, it's pushing for redesign is only really smart if you are rebranding, if you are looking at a huge functionality change, or your site is not mobile friendly, not accessible, because those are key things that we need to keep in mind as we go through. But avoiding a redesign, I think, should be on the top of everybody's radar, because there's a better iterative way to do that keep your donors in mind, your organization in mind, and your team in mind while you're still doing your day-to-day duties.
So when is a redesign the right call? When can it just simply can't be avoided? Yeah, we run into these situations all the time. We're migrating from a content management system, or we're just so far behind that there's nothing else we can do but do a redesign. And when we do these redesign projects, when it can't be avoided, we have a couple of different approaches. We have the traditional approach that you may have all had some experience, where your web development team goes into discovery, then they go into design, then they go into development, and then they launch the site. And this can sometimes take, depending on budget and scope, can sometimes take 3 months. We've worked on some projects where the budget has been upwards of $250,000, migrated 80,000 pages of content, and the project took well over a year. And it's just they can be small or they can be massive. The other approach is to try and get through that discovery, design, and development phase as quickly as possible and get to what we call an AVP, an awesome viable product. And once that site is launched, then actually using user data, user interaction data, feedback from users, stakeholders, all of the above to continually optimize through strategic website maintenance and support once the site launches. Danielle?
Sometimes a redesign is really the right call. Like I mentioned before, when you're on the wrong platform, so maybe you're on Drupal, you should be on WordPress, vice versa, or really you're on an outdated website that is not modern for mobile, it's not accessible, you're doing a full rebrand, or there's just huge functionality that you're coming in and working off of. Sometimes we've been part of projects where a redesign really made sense because we were working on an old site that had so much code everywhere.
God.
There's actually more costly to go in and try to fix it rather than just do a full rebuild and a redesign at the same time. So sometimes it's more valuable to do a redesign, and definitely not against them. It's trying to find that balance of when does it make sense for your organization. And this goes right into a project we actually recently just finished. We partnered with the Economic Development of Lethbridge, where they were working on an outdated CMS that I don't even honestly remember the name of. But it made it really difficult for their marketing team to manage content, to do any sort of updates. Every time they looked at it, something broke. So we worked with them to do a redesign on WordPress with Elementor. And this allowed us to work with them to understand their pain points, what they were hoping to achieve, and deliver a really good project. that now they have a vibrant modern design that offers a strong user experience. Their marketing team has a flexible, easy to use backend that empowers them to continually update and promote new content without needing to rely on developers for every change. They're able to reuse what we built for them all over in different places. This project is a great example of when a full redesign was truly the best path. And now we've moved into ongoing support with them because we didn't just finish the redesign and say the website's done. We actually finished the website and moved into a backlog. So we're doing ongoing support, we're enhancing, we're looking at future projects such as adding a chat. Again, redesigns also don't mean that development ends right when we launch the project. So this was one of my funnest ones that I've actually been a part of. And we're continuing to work with them now. But we've given them the ability to not have to run to a developer every time. Given them the ability to look at the website, enjoy their website, and know that it's not going to break at any given time or campaign that they're running. And then we worked with Mark from Lethbridge, and this is what he had to say about us. So great testimonial. I think Economic Development Lethbridge needed a website upgrade, and after extensive RFP process, which again, nobody really likes, we knew that Cheeky Monkey Media were the partner for us. The professionalism of their submission combined with laying everything out from timelines, cost, and asking about our goals for a new website were done with great enthusiasm. The process from start to finish has been great. And I feel whenever I have a question or concern, myself, Danielle, and the Cheeky Media Monkey team were always there to answer. They were upfront and honest with their project costs and timelines and have been truly a pleasure to work with. And that really is our philosophy at Cheeky Monkey Media. Is we go into a deep discovery. We really want to understand your organizational goals, and we don't hide anything. We're very transparent. If there's an issue, and there always will be a hurdle or two with any redesign project, it's better to collaborate, come up with options, and work through them together rather than siloed, in my opinion.
All right. So we talked about website redesigns and when they can't be avoided. But if you could avoid a website redesign and evolve your site through strategic website maintenance and support, what would that look like? The best way that I can describe it, what strategic website maintenance and support looks like, is if you were to take a snapshot of your website today, and you were to take that snapshot of that same website, say 5 years from now, what we would hope you would see through strategic website maintenance and support is a significantly different website that you didn't have to take 3, 4, 5, 6 months, a year of your life to manage a project and all of that budget and timeline and all of those moving pieces and all of that stress. It just evolved and it got there through tiny iterations year over year. Those iterations would be data-driven. They'd be from feedback from your stakeholders, from conversations with leadership that I think not enough comms and marketing people have with leadership, saying, you know what, we're seeing this in the data from our website. And if we change this, we think we can increase engagement and conversion, whether it's to our programs, whether it's to donations, whether it's through volunteerism, that we can see an increase of, say, 5% or 10% with this $2,500 UX investment, user experience investment, or user interface investment, or by speeding the site up by half a second, or whatever those recommendations may be as we're collaborating together. So that's really what, to me anyways, strategic website maintenance and support looks like. Danielle?
Yeah, to me personally, like maintenance and support is really where it becomes strategic, in my opinion. We're working with you to understand, again, your organization, to understand your team's goals, what you're trying to achieve over the month, the quarter, the year, and a 5-year goal. Because we're there, we understand your website. We're really looking at it from a proactive approach. We can monitor your website. We can stay ahead of potential issues. The one thing that everyone I know always drags their feet on is regular maintenance. So whether you're on WordPress or Drupal, regular WordPress and plugin updates or Drupal module updates. We can go in, we can make sure everything is secure, up to date, and working as it should. And then because we're understanding your organization, not just from a project standpoint, but from a strategic standpoint, we're always in there looking at trends, recommendations, enhancing functionality. So we're working with you to understand where we can place those and share those with you, rather than just saying, you've asked for this bug and it needs to be fixed, rather than just fixing that bug and moving on. We're saying, hey, we fixed this bug, but we've also noticed while we were in there that we can improve upon this, and here's our options. So strategic website maintenance is really more of a partnership and a team. We're becoming part of your team, but you don't need to stress about us, which is nice. We're really a partner that works with you rather than just keeping the lights on.
We're that F1 team on the track that not only just changes the tires and gasses up the vehicle, but also does the paint job and makes the car go faster and all of those fun things. The unsung hero of your website, so that you can do what you do best.
Exactly. And one client actually we're working with right now is from the
Yes.
start.
There we go. I'm with you.
So we're currently working with Women in Product. They're a nonprofit based out of California, and they're a great example of what it looks like to focus on smart, iterative, and ongoing maintenance and enhancements. So when we first partnered with them, their site had quite a few bugs and older features that needed enhancement. It was just really hard for their team to get in there and to make adjustments. So the first thing that we did is we worked closely with them to get the bugs fixed, the site up to date and resolved. And then as we started understanding their organizational need, we started picking for WordPress widgets or blocks that we wanted to iterate and enhance. So we started doing small redesign features, pages or blocks that they could reuse throughout the site. So right now we're actually in the middle of a homepage redesign. It's not a full rebuild, it's not a full redesign, but we're just updating what they currently have and making sure that it's modern. It fits in with their brand, their mission, and it's a great example of how you can continue to evolve your site without having to start from scratch. And this is an example in the slide here where we're using elements they already had, we're enhancing on top of them, making sure that they are getting features that they would like, so they have a community they'd like everybody to come to and connect with each other. So that's what we've done in this example here. And then in the next few weeks, you can check out their live website with the homepage redesign.
Nice. What are the benefits of strategic website maintenance and support? So number one is peace of mind. I like to use the analogy that we're like an insurance policy for your website. We've got, and this is something that I think a lot of nonprofits need, is they need senior WordPress and Drupal developers. They need them in their back pocket so that they can pull them out and put them to work whenever something more difficult, more challenging needs to be done with the website. With our maintenance and support plans, you have those senior developers that are available to you whenever you need them. And then with that peace of mind that you're getting, knowing that the website's supported and that everything's evolving and engagements are going up, all of your goals are being met, things are improving on the website continually, then it frees you up to be more strategic and more proactive. And so that you get to actually find out more about your target personas, find out more about what the strategy, the communications and marketing strategy and the plan for the year and the quarter should be. And begin to start to map out that content and that communication plan that you need to have in order to actually communicate your benefit in your community and to your stakeholders and to your clients, and strategically try to improve donations and all of those things. And then, of course, we work with a lot of nonprofits that things change. They get new opportunities. A funder comes and says, hey, you know what? If we have some money here for you, if you could do this with your community. And none of that is reflected on the website. So this is all part of evolution. This is how things evolve. And we're here to help with all of those types of things as well. Rick Bjarnason is the CEO of Cheeky Monkey Media, and he did a not so nice thing to me, I would say almost 10 years ago. He said, Dennis, you should join me and we should do trail running. Just for fun, I do ultra trail running. I run 100 kilometers or 100 miles through the mountains over 30 some odd hours. And wouldn't it be fun if you did it too? And I was like, huh. Anyways, I'm now training for I guess it's my first 50-kilometer race through the mountains of Rossland. And so every once in a while, Rick and I get a chance to go out in the woods and run together, and we record these videos. We always talk about work, so we thought, why not record our conversations and see what we can make with it? And so what I'd like to do now is just play this video.
Another day of running with the two old guys here. We're lucking out on these weather. I tell you, one of these days you're going to see us running in the rain.
It will be miserable.
We're going to be more.
It'll be grouchy.
You got to keep the mission moving forward. So one of the things that we wanted to discuss today is the 3 biggest benefits to going with a website maintenance package. So you had number 1.
I had number one. Number 1 I thought was...
Or do I have number 1? I have number 1.
You had number 1.
It's peace of mind.
Yeah.
So knowing that your website is up to date and secure, you're following the latest, greatest for the compliance issues out there. They're not issues, but compliance rules that seem to be changing every so often now again. But security is a huge one, especially if you're ever using our open source software, because they get updated frequently and they're getting the updates done usually to secure your website. So knowing that's being taken care of and you don't have to worry about it, that's a big plus.
Yes. Can I add something to that?
Sure, absolutely.
So what's been resonating for a couple of conversations I've been having is I've been using the term insurance policy.
Yep.
And because the nonprofits and the higher ed institutions that we're working with, they might be short on senior developers.
Yep.
And just knowing that they've got some money in the bank somewhere, that if they need to bring in some experienced senior Drupal or WordPress developers to solve a particular problem, they can pick up the phone and they can call us and we can parachute our people and come and help.
Nice.
And they seem to really appreciate that. That's just a free on your peace of mind topic, because I think that adds to it.
Thank you. So topic number 2 we got here is fixing user experience issues. And we even were talking, that's the more than just user experience, that's also landing pages.
We've argued about landing pages and this whole thing about a website's role, whether it's a branding experience or it's actually inspiring somebody to do something. And because that's traditionally what landing pages were created for. But on the topic of user experience, everything from website performance, which I think almost is part of your peace of mind as well, because that security updates and updates to plugins and modules and stuff like that helps with website performance. But I think resonates is that user experience is a constantly moving target. And it's the type of experience we want on a website today is night and day different to the experience we wanted 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
We were happy waiting for 30 seconds for a page to load, but that's unacceptable now. It's got to be a fraction of a second. Yeah. And then there's just, how do I move through this website? And that is, all of this can be, it's a word I'm looking for, informed by data.
Yep.
And so it's a constantly moving thing, and having somebody in your corner that's supporting the website that can help you look at these things, analyze these things, and then say, hey, why don't we try this?
All the points. It could be as simple as something like the phone number has changed. The office address changed offices, or you've gone fully remote and you need to update your website to do that. Those are all user experiences. The user comes here, they want to contact you, they want up-to-date information.
I think we use the analogy a few times where if you walked into somebody's store and somebody's office and they hadn't dusted, they hadn't vacuumed, you could tell that chair or desk hasn't been moved in 10 years. And it gives you a certain impression of that business or organization. And websites are the same thing.
And also the last one is keeping mission focused. We've talked about this before. Websites get ignored. They get left out. They no longer represent what they were originally built for. And I think we see a lot of the senior level business owners, C-suite, starting to not believe as much in their websites or the value of a website.
That's always been the case, I feel.
I think even more so now. I think they're looking at it as you have to have one. Poker stakes, we've talked about that. You got to be able to be at the tables. You have to have a website. But they don't think it's really going to move the needle for them. And I would argue that it can absolutely move the needle, but it needs constant improvement. It needs constant attention. No different than your car. You buy your car and you've used it for a number of years. You got to keep it roadworthy. So doing the exact same thing with your website is super important.
Talk to any of our clients. They are fully believers that their website is either augmenting their funding, it is getting people enlisted in their programs, it is helping with enrollment. It is the hero. If you're a higher ed institution and you're not optimizing your website for enrollment, you're missing the boat. And our clients are doing that, and they believe in it, and they're doubling down on it.
So following that up, what makes a great web maintenance partner? So when you partner with an agency, you should be getting more than just the web development team. You should be getting a true partner. At least that's always my hope. Your website maintenance and iteration shouldn't feel boring or overly formal. It should be fun. It should be collaborative. and something that actively supports your mission. My personal approach with clients has been to be transparent, highly communicative, and to really become an extension of your team, working together toward your organizational goal. So we work flexibly with our partners. Whatever the schedule and rhythm fits your team will match. We make sure your site is secure. We help you plan for upcoming initiatives, and we support your next iterations with real strategic input. Like Jenna said in the video, data is super helpful and helps us make informed decisions. And we don't want to just use what's at the top of the trend right now, because that's not going to be true in 3 to 6 months. We want to work with the data that your website has. In my opinion as well, what makes a great partner is communication is key. We check in every week, no matter what. Even if it's just to say hi and keep the connection going, you'll always know what tasks are being estimated, scheduled, completed, when releases are happening, where your budget stands, and anything else you need to know. Because to me, and in other projects, there's nothing worse than feeling in the dark about what's going on with a project, with maintenance, or if you need to reach out to us and you feel like you can't. So when we work with partners, really we're focusing on making sure that we're available to your team, making sure we're making the right recommendations based on data, that we understand your budgetary restrictions for the year, for the quarter, and then also we're not just saying yes to every task that is done. You will have agencies that will say yes to everything. And sometimes that task doesn't make sense. When we're looking at your long-term goals, it might not fit in, or there might be user experiences that we need to flush out a great deal more before we say yes to. At our agency at Cheeky Monkey, we don't just want the hours to be spent. We actually want them to make an impact on your website. So to that, when we say hours and packages and web ops and maintenance, we're really flexible in understanding that as a nonprofit, you have a budget that you need to adhere to for the fiscal year. So you'll probably work with Dennis on looking at what that looks like for your budget, how many hours you can purchase, and it'll be up to my team to see how we make those dollars impact your website and what that looks like from a strategic point of view. So we work with you to customize a support package that fits your budget, your capacity. There's no pressure, and our hours never expire. So we don't make you have a monthly commitment or minimum. That flexibility means that you get to help when you need it and how you need it without overcommitting. So say 1 quarter, we really just want to focus on making sure the site is secure while you have bigger initiatives on the go. Then we recheck in at our strategic planning and we say, hey, do we want to look at this enhancement yet? Or do we want to toss it down the line a little bit while other campaigns are going? We fit in with your team. We're not just about using the hours in a meaningful way. Our process is collaborative. So we plan, we prioritize, and we fill in the gaps alongside your team so you can avoid burnout and stay focused on your mission. We don't just execute tasks. We help you think strategically about your website's role in your communications and outreach. Too often, I've seen nonprofits stuck in a reactive cycle. So they're just waiting for something to break before they act, which isn't sustainable for anybody. With the right partner, you can shift from reactive to proactive. So my team will go in, we flag risks, we recommend enhancements, we plan updates, and we put those on a timeline so you know what's coming down the line, what needs to be looked at. And if there ever is a higher security release that needs to get updated quickly, we will flag that to you and say we're ready to go. So our team really is just about helping you align with your goals and never become a roadblock to your impact with your website.
We're coming down to the wire here. Basically, what we hoped to communicate to all the nonprofit folks out there are redesigns are expensive, risky, stressful, and often unnecessary. And strategic website maintenance and support is an option that is available for nonprofits that have been once bitten, twice shy through the redesign project and want to explore another option, a more sustainable, a more predictable option, a less stressful option, a more proactive and strategic option to managing their website. And yes, we're not the only one out there. We're here just evangelizing this approach. And there are folks out there, but I would suggest that you, based on what you've learned here today, you have some good questions to ask those folks if they are just strictly keeping the lights on for you and waiting for you to call so they'll fix something, or if they're a true partner with you, working forward with you in a strategic and proactive way to make your website better and move your mission and hit your goals. Anything else, Danielle?
No.
All
I've
right.
got loads more questions have been popping.
All right. That's great. Happy to help.
So let's dive into those. So here's the first question I've got from Ebru, who says, do you recommend any content management systems besides WordPress and Drupal, like Framer or Webflow? And basically, I think the idea behind this question is that Ebru thinks WordPress and Elementor are pretty great, but others are faster. Do you think you should be looking at other content management systems, or do you think you're setting yourself up for trouble down the line?
No, I think it's honestly the content management platform that fits your needs and your team's needs. We're working with a client right now with Webflow, and we're not against it at all. We've overtaken this project. And I would say based on that client's needs, Webflow wasn't the right fit for them, but we are working with them on enhancing their Webflow content management system. So it really depends on the overall needs. I wouldn't suggest a big Drupal site to a small nonprofit that really just needs someone to go in and manage content. So I would say at the end, we're not against anything if it works for what your needs are.
There's
Awesome.
a lot of folks in nonprofits that are walking into a situation that they didn't create. And it just seems like everything's on fire. And they're just doing the best they can with what they have. Our hope is that once we can come in and we can help and get them working more strategically and proactively, they can really dig into who they are, what they're trying to achieve, who's their target audience, and what kind of an experience that target audience needs, to engage with that nonprofit, and truly understand if their content management system is the right one for them, or if they should explore other options.
Cool. So speaking of speed, there have been times where Google has given people a lot of SaaS if they have a slow to load website.
Yes.
Asks, what is like the target or average load time we should be looking for these days for a website?
Well, that's a good question.
Couple seconds? 2 to 3
Couple
seconds?
seconds.
I'd say
And the
I just
answer
remember that from my own experience.
I'd say that.
Really?
load pretty instantly depending on the features that you have, but then there's also ways that we can put in pagination system or a scrolling bar to eliminate, so it loads faster, and then as you have more content that you can scroll down and it will load. The other part is that I think that we always forget with alongside performance is your hosting partner too, which is
I was
equally
gonna say
as
that, yeah.
important.
Yeah.
We work alongside some premier hosting partners, but again, we also work with what your needs are, what your budget is. But we can't put performance just all on the website. It has to also find a great hosting partner that has the ability to have your environments, to have your workflows, and then also be able to sustain your traffic that you're hoping to bring in.
Yeah, we just had our web team, because we take our own medicine, drink our own whiskey, whatever the term might be for that. But we just had our latest report from our web team about our own website, and the first contentful paint, and Danielle, you'll have to help me understand what that means, was 0.7 seconds. Yeah, it's got to be fast.
Right.
But again,
It depends too on a lot of factors on the client side too, right? It's not the server side factor.
what works today may not work tomorrow. I was around during dial-up, and the be-doo, be-doo, be-doo. Anybody here's been around that long. And I think it was a good minute and a half before something started fluttering across the screen, but that's not going to work for today.
Great. Next question coming from Lori, and there's a couple people here who are working for membership-based organizations.
Love that.
And so they're asking, do you have any recommendations around membership platforms that will work well with a pre-existing website? And in Lori's case, they're using WordPress and Elementor. And then the side question to that, beyond that specific recommendation, is what are things to be aware of and to consider when you're choosing that membership plugin?
Finances.
All right, please.
We've actually, about a year and a half ago, we actually did a website, WordPress, Elementor, and they were coming off a wild apricot, and we went with MemberPress. It worked well for their needs. So And I think it goes into the bigger question of you can put together a top 5 list very easily for the members, for the member plugins that work well. But really it comes down to what is your budget? What are your actual overall needs? We do a discovery with you and we present a couple options that fit your goal. Because sometimes it might not be WordPress or MemberPress. It might be WildAct and vice versa or another plugin. So we really work with you to understand what the overall goal is, because sometimes you don't want to commit to maybe a $200 or $300 spend per month where your needs are very simple. So we really work with you on understanding that. The next part of that question was...
Or basically, what are the considerations when you're doing that? As you talked about guiding people through a set of questions to help them figure out what is the solution set they're really looking for.
Yeah, I think it's overall functionality. It's the cost, what your budget is too. That's really important. What are your budget? What are your functionality? How many members do you have? How many members do you expect to have? How do you want it to integrate with your site? Or is there another option out there where we put users to another platform to log in? There's a lot of consideration that I like to take into consideration before we pick. And we walk through pros and cons of each. You're not just going to get from my team, at least, this is the one because it's top tier. This is how much it's going to cost. It's, hey, here's 3 options that we went and found based on our discovery discussions that we think are going to fit your needs. And they might not be, you do the Google search, you're like top 5. They might not even be on there, not because they're not good, but because we're looking at your needs rather than cost or trend. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you. So I've got a question here from Scott, who says, our biggest challenge is going to be as they go through this transition, they're using basically they need a CRM integration with WordPress and Salesforce as they ditch an old membership platform. Do you have any experience around doing that WordPress to Salesforce, like the nonprofit starter pack integration? And what should people consider when they're looking at that as a path?
We haven't done one specifically with Salesforce and WordPress. We did just finish one with Drupal and Salesforce. But I think, again, the considerations really come down to what are the overall needs. And we work with you on finding that. Dennis, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to jump in.
No, the one I was thinking of was Drupal and Salesforce. And it's all, big thing is API integration and just understanding that's part of it. And understanding what your needs are. There's so many different ways for us to do things these days. And having a partner that says, if you do it this way, here's the pros and the cons. And if you do it this way, here's the pros and cons of this approach. And really just helping the client understand, and possibly leadership if they're involved, or if the client has to eventually respond to leadership about the decisions they're making, just arming them with everything that they need in order to make an informed decision. And knowing that sometimes you might be able to save a little money up front with how that integration is implemented, but you might have to understand that if it's not flexible and scalable, that you might be looking at making some changes down the line.
And Scott just has a bit of a follow-up here, just saying, I figure if Drupal and Salesforce work, then WordPress and Salesforce should also cooperate similarly with their open APIs.
Yes.
Because basically the goal is to reduce management and user accounts across these platforms.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree.
One other thing I would say is I've seen it with the nonprofits or charities or people trying to start them. And I know there's always a debate about this, how ineffective a site like a Wix or a Squarespace could be, right? For something like a scalability or functionality compared to more robust stuff. Like, I've never used Drupal, but I've used WordPress a lot.
Yeah. But if a nonprofit is stuck in a particular situation and they just need to get something done, Wix and Squarespace can be ideal for a startup that just doesn't really quite have their story straight yet. And there could be a number of pivots in the short term as they get that. And then once things start to settle and they start to grow, then that could be an opportunity to maybe look at some of these other platforms.
And you would migrate them, right?
Sorry?
You would migrate them.
If that's absolutely necessary. Sometimes there's not a lot of content to migrate and you can just do it manually, or there's still, that content is evolving. Their story is evolving. So it's just the next iteration they're populating on the new website.
Great.
Yeah, I would say Wix and Squarespace are one of those like pre-bought foundation themes that you can get for WordPress that give you a lot of access taking away design time. If you don't have the budget, there's very limited in what you can actually do.
Yes, and also too, you don't have to worry about updates and all of that kind of stuff. All of that's. So if you're technically challenged and you can't afford to have technical support, there's some that comes with that platform.
Awesome. So we're coming into the last couple of minutes. Lori has a question here
Okay.
on security thing. And so Lori is basically asking, like, if I have security concerns, is the free word fence enough for 60-ish% of nonprofit websites? Or do you need to maybe step it up a little bit more? What's a good base level that everyone should consider?
You want to take that one, Danielle?
We absolutely recommend the WordFence security plugin. And then it depends on the data that you're holding. So if you're holding very serious like client information, we would encourage one of the paid tiers. If it's not, then the free one would do just fine, and then we monitor. And then again, it also goes to a little bit of hosting as well, depending on their security measures. So if we top those two together, the free should be okay. But again, it depends on, have you had an attack before? What data are you actually holding? And then we take it from there. But WordFence is one that we recommend.
And then if you're not updating your plugins and core afterwards, you could put something in and just set it and leave it, and that would be a recipe for disaster down the road.
So if you're pairing that with regular updates, backups, then you should be okay.
Awesome. We've come to the end of our time, but John Romano, I think you got your hand up. If you want to quickly throw a question at us.
Sure. John Romano, Disaster Central. And the reason we chose Drupal, to us, is just not necessarily a decision about the content management system itself. It's really about the hosting platform and the additional services the hosting platform provides. Now, the platform we use is Pantheon, which has a web ops developmental approach. And they also use distributed networks that helps in speed and loading the website itself. And so I don't know how you feel about that. We look beyond the technology and look into the whole experience when it comes to the hosting platform and all the necessary workflows that are associated with that.
Yeah, we're a Pantheon partner, and our development environment is on Pantheon. We love those folks. Danielle, do you have anything further to add there?
Yeah, no, John, that's great to look at. We have a lot of clients that come to us that want the bare minimum for hosting. We run into troubles. So looking at hosting partners that really fit long-term, like Platform or Pantheon, if you're on WordPress, WP Engine is another good option. It's walking through what they can provide from another level and another standpoint to make sure your site is uptime, running, secure, and the ability for your developers as well. But yeah, I would say Pantheon and Platform are probably one of my two favorite hosting providers to work on right now. Right.
Fabulous. Well then, so yeah, we've run up, unfortunately, to the end of time. Dennis and Danielle, I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for being part of this today, sharing your expertise.